What's up, everybody? It's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. Is Gallinari on his way out of town, and is he part of trade talks with the Miami Heat? And we're going to do a reaction to the press conferences for Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole. A lot of good stuff next on Locked On Wizards.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's good, everybody? Again, it's your boy Brandon Scott again with my guy, the real Ed Oliver. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And today, we got an action-packed episode today. We're going to talk about Gallinari. Is he part of the future here in DC, or is he on his way out with a three-team deal for Dame Lillard? We're going to react to the press conferences for Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, and we're going to look at Kyle Kuzma's contract and how team friendly it really is. So let's dive right into it. As you guys know, Danilo Gallinari, his name has been mentioned in potential trade talks with a three-team deal for Dame Lillard. Landry Shamet's another name, but we've already talked about him. So do you think there's a place for him in DC, Ed? And if so, what can it be? Or do you see him being moved as in a potential three-team deal for Dame Lillard?
I could see him being potentially moved. We do have a lot of guys on this roster, and then watching the summer league, it looks like Vucevic is making a case to be on the roster this year. So he could definitely take somebody's spot. Pat Baldwin looks like he deserves a spot. Ryan Rollins looks like he deserves a spot. Of course, you still got Johnny. I don't know what's going to happen with Xavier Cooks. He's still technically on the roster. Anthony Gill is still technically on the roster. Muscala's on the roster. So there's a lot of guys. When you count it up, you got to break it down to 15. So there's still looking at the numbers, I want to say they're still at like 16, 17 guys right now. So you got to make some roster cuts for sure. And I feel like it would just be best to let other guys, get more playing time. Gallo would be at the 4. I was, earlier after we made the trades, trading Brad, Porzingis, and then, we didn't know if we were going to bring back Kuz. I was kind of like, okay, maybe we could keep Gallo just so he can show some guys the ropes. So we could have veteran leadership. But at this point, I think they just need to let the young guys get as many opportunities as they can get. Same thing with Landry Shamet. I think they should definitely look for trade options for him. Same thing with Gallo. Both good players, but I do think they can contribute off the bench for playoff teams such as the Miami Heat or other potential perennial playoff teams. I think they could definitely help those teams out. And Gallo's a good player. He's coming off a torn ACL. He is in his 30s now. He's a legitimate scorer, good mid-range scorer, can score with his back to the basket. Gallo has definitely cooked the Wizards for many years in his career for sure, but I do think it would be best for them to potentially part ways and just open up doors for young guys. Even Koulibaly, let him get minutes at the 3 or the 4 or at the 2. There's just a lot of guys, that could get minutes. And Denny as well, he could play at the 4 to 3. He wouldn't have to worry about, splitting minutes with Gallo as well. So just let the young guys get as many minutes as they can get. I don't see us getting much value back from Gallinari at all. You look at what we got from Monte Morris. You got a second-round pick for him, and I think it would be similar for Gallo. You probably get another second-round pick, which at this point I just wouldn't mind. It would be a consolidation trade because we do have a log jam at the 4, at the 3. Once again, like I said, with Vucevic looking like he can play at the 4 or the 5, Pat Baldwin at the 4 or the 3. So let the young guys play. Let these guys play. And, Gallo, Jake Fisher brought up earlier a potential buyout with Gallo, but if they can get a second-round pick, I know we have 60 second-round picks or 1 million second-round picks, but once again, we look at the trades that happened. Obi Toppin got traded for 2 second-round picks. KJ Martin traded for second-round picks. So second-round picks can be valuable. Once again, we traded up for Bilal. We used 2 second-round picks to move up 1 spot. So you just never know what can happen with second-round picks. And if you actually scout right and draft right, you can get a good player. You can get a good player to second, not going to compare anybody to Nikola Jokic, but of course he was a second-round pick. Draymond Green is a second-round pick. There's some really, really good second-round picks out there. Gigi Jackson's been playing really well in the second round. And our own guys have been playing really well in the second round as well. So you just never know. If you use your second-round pick correctly, you can find talent in the second round. So if they can move Gallo for one of those guys, Miami Heat, they do have Nikola Jokic. I highly doubt they trade him here. Orlando Robinson, he's been playing really well in the summer league. I highly doubt they trade him here. But Haywood Highsmith, maybe he might be a young guy you take a swing on. But other than that, it would just be a consolidation trade for me.
Yeah, I'm with you, E. I think that a consolidation trade is in the best interest of both parties. Gallo, to a certain degree, I kind of want to see him in the Wizards jersey, but Patrick Baldwin, man, what I've seen the first 2 games from him, he definitely needs minutes at the 4, maybe intermingling a little bit at the 3 of the second unit. I think between Muscala, Shamet, and Gallo, man, I think there definitely needs to be consolidation trade, because if you look at his young roster, I don't see where any of them really fit. If you look at Muscala, Vucevic, man, he needs some minutes behind Gaff, man. He needs some minutes. If you look at Gallo at the 4, Patrick Baldwin needs minutes. If you look at Shamet, Johnny Davis needs minutes. Yeah, I don't see where any of them can be on this roster and not conflict with a lot of these young guys' minutes. Because obviously, it's year 1 of the rebuild. These young guys need minutes, especially Johnny Davis, man. It's year 2. Confidence is always the name of the game for him. So he definitely needs playing time. So, yeah, I don't see any scenario where any of those 3 stay. I think they could be salary fillers for a 3-team trade, because I still think that Dame Lillard's on his way out of Portland, man. So I definitely think that if you could offload these guys in a consolidation trade and trying to fit them as salary fillers in a 3-team trade, I'm all for it, because I think that you definitely want to see what these young guys can do. Because look, Patrick Baldwin, man, give this brother some minutes. I'm trying to tell you. I mean, the shooting stroke, the athleticism, he needs to play. Same thing with Vucevic, man, which it kind of doesn't roll off the tongue. I want to say Vucevic so bad, but you got to throw that Vuk in there. But he's a baller too, man. You give him some minutes. So yeah, I think you definitely got to consolidate these guys, man. I'm not looking really too much players coming back. 2nd round picks, I'm cool with it. I think that what you see with this roster is what I want going forward, because I like what I see from the young guys as far as the second unit. So yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't see where any of these guys fit in the future, especially Shamet. Now I know we're talking about Gallo, man, but even then, like I said, Patrick Baldwin needs those minutes. So I'm with you. I don't see where any of them fit, and I definitely think that they could be part of a 3-team trade, because Dame's out in Portland, man. I don't see where he fits in Portland. I know this is Wizard Channel, but but look, moves like that are dominoes that fall, and it can affect the Wizards. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely think that if there's, with a trade sitting Dame, whether it's Miami, I know Miami is the big destination that he wants, but I know their management is being very, very selective with what kind of package you're getting back. So yeah, we definitely got to consolidate. So I'm with you on that one, man.
Right. Yeah, and their manager said that they will wait, however long it takes to get a deal done. It's not going to be like the Wizards, because he doesn't have no trade clause, so they actually get to control some of it on what they get back. And the reports from Greg Sylvander with 5 Reasons Sports, he said that the past week that Gallo's name has come up. So it looks like there's a little smoke and fire there. So we'll see. And I'm looking at the depth chart right now too. Quentin Jackson's on the depth chart. Anthony Gill's on the depth chart. Pat Baldwin, Gallo, Corey Kispert. We didn't even bring up his name. He's got to get playing time as well. Johnny Davis, and I'm looking at the ESPN depth chart. They didn't put Xavier Cooks on the depth chart, but he is a guy that could potentially make the roster too. So they definitely need to consolidate. That's about 16, 17 guys.
I think they might need a couple consolidation trades. I mean, like you said, where do you fit Corey Kispert? Because looking at it, Koulibaly is going to play the 3 on the second team. You got Johnny Davis, you got Kispert in these minutes, so it's going to be interesting to see what the final roster looks like, the final depth chart going into the regular season is going to be. But we definitely need to move some of these expiring deals. So before we move on to the press conferences and our reactions to it, you got anything else you want to cover real quick on Gallo?
No, that's it.
Got you. Yes, sir. So we're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to react to the press conferences for Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole. But before we do, tonight's episode is brought to you by Ibotta. Picking up burgers and hot dogs for a summer barbecue, you're already doing it. So why not get cash back for it? With Ibotta, it's officially summer, and a new season means new clothes. But your closet shouldn't be the only thing growing when you make those purchases. Now you can also watch your cash back grow with each purchase with Ibotta. Finally taking that summer vacation you've been planning, but dreading buying all of the necessities before you take off. It's time to stop spending your hard-earned money without getting anything in return. Enter Ibotta. Ibotta gives you cash back on hundreds of grocery items, from produce to personal care to pantry goods, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. Either link your loyalty account or upload your receipt after you shop, and you get cash back. It's that easy. The average Ibotta user earns $120 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, I'm trying to tell you. Or you use your cash back to buy that flight you've been eyeing. Go to Summer League next year. That game you're dying to go to, or that fancy dinner you've been craving to go to. Other apps gives you points, but they don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you get real cash. That's cash in your account, PayPal or gift cards. You can earn cash back on hundreds of online brands and retailers too when you start with Ibotta, including Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and many more. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 just for trying Ibotta by using the code LOCKED when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app and use code LOCKED. That's IBOTTA at the Google Play or App Store and use the code LOCKED. Ibotta. And thanks for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Every dayers. Tomorrow we are going to talk about Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma and what kind of impact can they have in the 202. And is this really a rebuilding roster, or man, are we a little better than we thought we are going to be? So we're going to definitely chop it up tomorrow about that. So we're going to dive right into it, E. We're going to react to Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole's press conference. So what'd you get out of I guess we'll start with Kyle Kuzma. Looking at Kyle Kuzma and a lot of comments he made, what were the biggest things that you got out of his press conference?
He said that he was brutally honest. And I know this is something that we kind of got on Tommy Shepard about not saying that the goal is a championship and the goal is a plan. Now Kuzma said that the goal, we're not a championship team, but we're just looking to build a culture. And we've heard the same thing from Will Dawkins, Michael Winger, and he's just being brutally honest. He's being brutally honest. Right now we're trying to find a culture and identity. We just haven't had that the past couple seasons. So if he can come in and do something like that, that would be a good start. He also said good things about Jordan Poole. He said he's a super exciting player. He talked about being a leader as well, and that's what we're looking for. That's real from Kyle Kuzma. He talked about, it being a business. He said, quote, "This is a business. People come and go, job flipper, whatever." But he said, "I love what Ted did from the standpoint of his hires. He did a phenomenal job of just dissecting what he wanted Monumental Sports to be. He got guys who know what they're doing. That's obviously appealing to me. I'm a professional person, and they're very professional people." Talking about the big three: Will Dawkins, Travis Schlenk, and also Michael Winger. So nothing but positive things. Said good things about Jordan Poole. He also said some good things about Denny Avdia. We'll talk about that too, because I know a lot of Denny Avdia supporters will be excited about that. He also said, being in DC for the last 2 years, I really fell in love with the city. He said, now that my contract is all signed, sealed, and delivered, it feels amazing. Everyone knows I'm a very ambitious person, so having this opportunity to lead the organization and lead a bunch of young guys is something I can do at a high level. I'm just very excited to build. And he's shown, we brought up many times last year that he was a vocal leader for this team. He really was. He's said positive things about Denny. He's worked out with guys after practice like Isaiah Todd and Jordan Goodwin. He learned watching film with Rajon Rondo, so he sat down with some of the young guys and did that. A lot of people complain about him, his shot selection and whatnot. But I do think you watch him on the bench and how excited he gets. I do think he is a good vocal leader for the guys, and he has played well with Denny out there. When Rui was here, he played well with Denny and Rui. He's hyped up guys, and he's been honest in the press conference. He's even called out, didn't really call out West, but he did say that, players don't know their personnel and their assignments and stuff like that. That kind of is on the coach. And he talked about players complaining to the refs too much. And we've seen guys do that time and time again. And then he talked about blowing the 15-plus point leads. He was brutally honest about that. So he says all the right things in the press conferences. We definitely want to see him go out there and do it as a leader on the court. Sometimes he may showboat a little bit, when he beat the Pistons, he was, celebrating and whatnot off the game winner, but I don't blame him for getting hyped about that. And then, social media going back with Spencer Dinwiddie, I don't blame him for that either. But yeah, as he is going to be the vocal leader and probably definitely one of the leading scorers on this team. I like what I heard from the presser, and he hyped up his teammates, said the good things about Jordan Poole, Denny as well. And, he's happy to be here in DC. Said good things about the new leadership and the new front office.
Look, that is the very definition of leadership. Being honest, not lying, knowing the situation for what it is. You know what I'm saying? Tommy Shepard is so famous for, your house is burning. And he's telling you, no, it's going to be all right, man. It's just, it's all good. No, it's not. Him being brutally honest, that's leadership, man. He was a very local leader, a great leader for this team last year. He is exactly what this young squad needs, is a veteran voice with playoff experience, with championship pedigree, who can come in and be that voice, man. Because that's one thing I got out of the press conference. You talked about the fact that him and Jordan Poole are kind of similar situations. They both come from championship teams where they playing underneath guys who had a long-standing chemistry together. And so they both have that championship pedigree. So I love it. We definitely need him as that leader because he was. Look, here's the sad fact, man. Bradley Beal was not our leader last year. It was Kyle Kuzma.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Kuzma, and to a certain degree, a little lesser degree, KP, but Kyle Kuzma was that guy who led from the front. I get it. Between him and Poole, they're going to shoot the ball a lot. Just prepare yourself. They're going to shoot the ball a lot. But you can't but help the love the dog in him, man. Hitting that clutch shot in Detroit and telling people goodbye. Goodbye. I love that. I love that. Talk stuff, man. That's basketball, man.
Yeah,
we both play, what I'm saying? That's basketball, man. Talking stuff, I love it. So a few things I like, obviously looking at, he called Jordan Poole one of the brightest stars in the NBA. I agree. For a young guy who hasn't even hit his prime yet, the sky's the limit for Jordan Poole, man. I love what I see from him. A chance to lead a young core. That's what really resonated with me, man, because he understands the situation he's in. He knows this is a rebuilding team. Now, I personally think that the rebuild is not going to be a long rebuild. Just looking at, a lot of these moves and, a little bit of the vision of this new this new big three in the front office, man, is that they're making moves. They want this team to be competitive, and they're going to build on top of that. So, it's not going to be a rebuild where we're going to be complete trash. We're going to be very entertaining to watch. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, he feels wanted, and he wanted to be in DC. Outside of Brad and John Wall, when is the last time you really saw a guy say, I want to be here in DC? We've always been a spot where it's been hard to get guys to come here in free agency. For a guy that says, I want to be here, I love this town, I love what's going on in the front office, you could see that change. Because look, Kuz, man, he's got connections to the guys out in LA. A lot of free agents are gonna look at that and say, okay, what is that you like about DC? They're gonna inquire about that. That's how you start to get guys in DC, is that you have a guy like Kyle Kuzma and say, look, we got a good front office. We got a good thing going on here. DC as a city is a nice place to raise a family. You're hearing all the right things from what Kyle Kuzma has to say, man. So that's leadership. And it's about daggone time because it's much needed here in DC, man. So we're going to roll into Jordan Poole real quick. Now, he had a lot to say, man. Obviously, the media was trying to prod him with Draymond Green and all that mess, man. But outside of Draymond Green, and what is the biggest core things you got out of his press conference?
He has a new opportunity, and that he's trying to become a leader himself too. This is a quote that stood to me. He said, I got a ring and I was able to do some life-changing stuff. I was able to learn a lot in my first 4 years in the league at a very high level. And I'm appreciative and thankful of that. You apply that to your new situation and new team. Being a leader comes with challenges. So he's ready to step up and become a leader. And, the fact that he called Bilal or contacted him was huge to me. That was, and I always talk about communication. Like, I bring up the example every time, Michael Winger and Brad, they didn't talk that first week. It could have been not a big deal at all, but that kind of just told me that, hey, I feel like Michael Winger definitely wanted to move in a different direction. Now, Jordan Poole contacted Bilal. He's ready to get in the gym with him. He's ready to work with him, ready to be a good teammate to a young guy, a rookie who's only, 18 years old. And he's already reaching out in contact. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. He could have waited until he saw him at a summer league, but he went out of his way to call him and contact him. And that's the thing about the smiling thing and all that people get worked up over. If he wasn't happy to be here, he wouldn't have called an 18-year-old rookie, because he didn't have to do that. So he's learning how to become a leader, and he learned under Steph. He learned that under Clay. He learned under winning a championship with the Warriors, guys who are going to be future Hall of Famers, and Clay and Steph. He learned under those guys what leadership looks like. So he can bring that championship pedigree to DC. He's going to be one of the veterans, one of the oldest guys on the team, even though he still is very young. And he certainly is going to be – I feel like he's going to be the leading scorer, or it's really between him and Kuz, and he's going to get a lot of shots up this year. But he has to understand that, of course, guys are going to be following his lead out there on and off the court as well. So I think he's starting to learn that as well. And once again, he said nothing but good things about his teammates and how to build a culture as well, leading by example. I will throw in a quote that he did say about Denny here real quick. He said, Denny is extremely gifted and talented, a good slasher, great size, athletic, can get to the rim. Being able to play alongside him on the wing, unlock him, allow him to continue to grow his game, find ways to build a good chemistry. We'll be excited. So he's looking already to build chemistry with Bilal and Denny and a lot of the young guys that are coming up in the league on the team.
I agree, man. When I found out that he called Bilal when he got drafted, that's leadership. For a young guy to come into a situation with a new city, a new organization, and automatically try to find his niche as a leader, says a lot about Jordan Poole, man. Obviously I don't watch a lot of Warriors basketball. I've watched highlights of Jordan Poole, but I've never really watched him speak. I'll say this, man. He's a humble young cat, man. He really has a good head on his shoulders from what I see from press conference, man. He comes in this situation and he really wants to be a leader. And that's why it's much needed. I love the acquisition of him and bringing Kyle Kuzma back, because you got two guys who are young, they're hungry, and they want to lead, man. That's the thing about leadership. Real leaders, you don't have to force them to be leaders. And that's the thing. You shouldn't have to force somebody to be a leader. A leader is somebody who comes in here and wants to lead from example, man, and from the front. So, everything I've heard from Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole from the press conferences as far as leadership, I love it, because that's exactly what you want to see and hear from these two gentlemen. There's a couple things I like. He said that it was cool to see Kyle Kuzma flourish in DC. So what's that telling me? He's saying that, Kyle Kuzma, he said it, the Wizards gave him an opportunity to kind of showcase what he can do. And he flourished. He became that guy who's really became a real good scorer in his league. So I think Jordan Poole, he kind of sees the same thing. The Wizards are going to give him an opportunity to come in, be that guy, be that scorer, be that leader, man. So he loves the fan base. I mean, I love that. He said, he loves the pulse of the fan base. He says how the fan base has been very welcoming, come in, really accepted him with open arms. And it shows that, this fan base, man, they're ready. They were ready for that change. They're ready for this new era. This team's not trash. Obviously we're not winning the championship anytime soon, but this team is going to be competitive. They're going to be fun to watch. Another thing, saying that him and Kuz are a great combo. I agree. These two guys leading, I think is going to be a really, really good thing for this young core for these next 3 to 4 years, man, because obviously both of these guys are legitimate starters in this league. But I'm trying to tell you, man, looking at Denny, I'm going to say this. I'm not surprised that he said it about Denny, because can you imagine this? Look, and we're both, I'm not going to say we're hard. We're realistic with Denny. I think neither one of us have really been negative about Denny. He's just pointing out deficiencies in his game. And I think that we both can agree that he's got a lot of potential. But if he hits, if he breaks out, I'm trying to tell you, this team is not going to be a bad team. If Denny finally finds that shot and finally, works on his left hand, the sky's the limit for this franchise, man. Between Denny, Kisper, does he take steps forward? Koulibaly, what steps does he take in his development? Johnny Davis, does he settle and become more efficient? If all these guys hit, man, you're looking at a team that, they're going to shorten this rebuild, because there's a lot of potential on this roster, man. I still believe in Koulibaly in that pick. Obviously his first game was kind of underwhelming, but you see the potential with him. There's a lot of potential in the squad. So, nah, man, I think people are going to be very surprised with the team. I think they're not going to be as bad. I think Locked On Grizzlies, man, he actually said that he thinks that the Washington Wizards can be a plan. And I don't know about you, E, man. Every time I hear playing, it just makes my stomach hurt, man. I don't want to talk about playing, but with this squad, I can, look, if this squad makes a plan, that is a good step. And that tells you that this rebuild is not going to be as long as we thought it was going to be, because, again, the cupboards aren't bare. There's a lot of talent here. So I'm very interested to see Jordan Poole and Kyle Kuzma going forward this year, man, because I think they're going to be something to watch. So before we talk about our main man, Kyle Kuzma, and his contract, you got anything else you want to cover when the pool party?
We'll see about the plan. We'll definitely talk about that later this week too, because I know there's an article that talked about that, the direction of the team. But yeah, I like the way he handled the Draymond Green questions. Of course, a lot of the reporters that asked him about Draymond Green, or they asked, how he felt about how it ended with the Warriors, and he just said, "Hey, I'm here now in DC. Me and Kuz are going to be a good duo." So he did his best to avoid those questions, and it's like, I get it's the reporter's job to ask that, but man, it's time to move on. He doesn't want to talk about an incident where he got punched on camera on TMZ, where it went viral, went all over the place. Imagine if you got punched in the workplace and it went viral, or it went all over the place and went viral all over social media. Would you want to keep answering questions about that same incident? So he's trying to move on, man. It's a new chapter in DC, and this is a great opportunity for him. And I like what you said about how he talked about Kuzma. Yeah, he said Kuzma came over here and was able to revitalize his career and make it into a good contract where he's getting paid $100 million per year. Poole already has a good contract, but he can even evolve his game even more where, hey, I mean, if he goes out there and puts up 25, 26 points a game and it's an efficient 26 points a game and get his teammates involved, then hey, maybe he can get a couple all-star votes out there or get a second team or a bench all-star nod. We'll see. I think he still has a lot of potential because he's still very young, but he handled all the Draymond questions with a lot of professionalism, and I wouldn't have answered them either.
No, man, because here's the thing. He answered them last year. We go the whole season and off season. All of a sudden, you want to bring it back up? I mean, come on, man. Stop it. I mean, he was very professional about his response, man. I mean, look, you get tagged up on camera, man. You're gonna feel a certain way. I'm just saying. I mean, let's be real. I mean, my wife slapped me at the daggone gas pump one time. I ain't talked to her for 2 weeks, man. Like, I'm just saying. Come on. I mean, brother man got punched on camera, man, and he's gonna feel a certain way. But I mean, if you see his interactions with Steph, he said, "Look, me and Steph talk all the time, man. Him and Clay. Look, it's basketball. It's anybody who's played football, basketball, any kind of competitive team sport. Passions are high, man. I mean, you ain't smiling the whole time, man. Especially football and basketball. Come on now. I mean, come on. How many times over the years of playing basketball? I bet you it's been a few times, man. You almost got into it with somebody. I know I have, man. I mean, it's basketball. That's true basketball. So yeah, they're reaching, man. Leave him alone. He's saying all the right things. He's in DC now. That was the past. He's looking towards the future. So, I'm gonna leave it there, man. He's seeing all the right things. They're really, really trying to get him to say something controversial.
Yeah, and it was a question where it was like, have you talked to Draymond? And he just turned his head and didn't even answer the question. So,
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna jump into Kyle Kuzma and his contract. So looking at Kyle Kuzma, he got a 4-year, and I'm pulling up right now, 4-year, $90 million guaranteed. But breaking down the contract is $90 million guaranteed, but over the total amount can be $102 million over 4 years. And real quick, it actually is a front-loaded contract. It goes down every year. In 2023 to 24, he's making $25.6 million. Then it drops to 23, then drops to 21, and then finally in the 4th year, it is $19 million. So this is obviously a very team-friendly contract. So do you think the motivation for a team-friendly contract was it being kind of a movable contract, or do you feel like it was just him showing love to the organization and knowing the situation that they're in a rebuild?
I think it's a combination of things. I don't know what other teams they were competing with Kuz, teams that were trying to sign him, because it kind of dried up the competition. Like the Kings signed Harrison Barnes, the Pacers signed Bruce Brown, the Houston Rockets signed Dylan Brooks and Fred VanVleet. So I don't know who else was competing. They didn't report too much after those teams. But yeah, I think that's a deal that Kyle Kuzma earned, and it's a tradable contract. I mean, it's awesome that they got it to go from 25 down to 23, down to 21, down to 19. That's a heck of a deal. And guess what? They didn't give him a no trade clause. They didn't give him 15% trade kicker as well. So I mean, there's no team options, there's no player options, so he doesn't control the end of the deal, kind of like how Kristaps kind of controlled the end of the deal before we sent him out. But he did us a solid by opting in with his player option. But at the same time, he cashed out too, because he wasn't going to get $36 million from anywhere else. But yeah, this is a darn good deal. It really is a tradable contract, and I think this kind of quiets down all the people who were negative about the signing, seeing the money that was involved in the deal. Look at Dylan Brooks, man. He got a big deal. His deal with incentives goes up to like $96 million, something like that. I was reading that. So, I mean, for them to get this kind of deal for a player who is a darn good player, who improved, who can shoot, pass, get to the basket, get downhill, can be a point forward out there, I think they got a good deal. And a lot of playoff teams are going to be looking for his services, possibly at the trade deadline. And I think you can get a first-round pick for Kyle Kuzma. If he plays the way that he's been playing when he gets hot, I think we finally will get not just a 2030 first-round pick. I think we'll finally get more of a first-round pick that is less than 7 years from now and has less protections on it. I think that's the goal with Kyle Kuzma, is to get value from him.
Yeah, because oh, absolutely, because that one first-round pick, 2030, man, we got scouts over in the middle schools, man. But, I mean, looking at Kyle Kuzma, man, it's definitely a team-friendly deal. But, I mean, if you look at how it breaks down, how it's front-loaded, it fits the timeline. Because you're looking at year 3 and year 4, you're looking to add some salary. So I think he's, you very well could see him, 3, maybe 4 years out of the deal, because he was already our leader. So, to me, it was a win-win to bring him back. You're bringing him back a vocal leader, and then he's not a scrub. He definitely going to score some points, man. I mean, the way he uses his size, I mean, he's definitely going to, I'm telling you, he's going to have a good year. So, yeah, it's definitely a team-friendly contract that is definitely tradable. But if you decide to retain him for the long run, I think looking at the breakdown of the contract, it fits the timeline. Because, like I said, once you hit year 3 and year 4, his salary's going down. Then, and you want to add talent by year 3 and year 4, and that contract enables them to do that. So, looking at the depth chart, looking at us getting Jordan Poole, retaining Kyle Kuzma, this is not a rebuild. It's going to take a while. You have a lot of talent here, man. And if you add the fact that you have a very competent front office, they're going to make this a competitive team quicker than you think. Year 3, you could see us maybe going for a playoff spot. And I'm very, very confident in that because this front office has made all the right decisions. You brought in Jordan Poole that, look, Brother Man's going to he's going to ball out in DC. I'm telling you right now, Kyle Kuzma and Jordan Poole, they're going to ball the heck out, man. And these young guys, man, don't be surprised you see 2, maybe 3 of these young guys break out, man, because I think Kispert, we already know what he can do. He's a shooter, he's a slasher, but Denny and Johnny Davis are 2 guys I'm going to look at. I think that if Johnny Davis and Denny Avdia can take that step, this team very well could go for a playing spot because there's a lot of talent here, man. I mean, you can't help to look at this depth chart and say, look, this is not a trash team. You got guys who play some basketball. You got leadership. You got a good front office. You have all these components that we didn't have last year. We had a trash front office. We had only one leader, and we were always looking to Bradley Beal to be that leader, and he wasn't, and it was Kyle Kuzma the whole time. We have components that we didn't have last season. We have a very, very competent front office where you have not 1, not 2, but 3 guys who could be general managers of their own team. I mean, I can't say enough about this front office. So, yeah, looking at this contract, man, this was a big win for this organization. And you brought back a guy who made this team better. We're not worse than the Kuzma. So, I get it. A lot of people are kind of leery about the direction, saying, we just got out of middle building. But I think there's a difference, man, because you see new clarity as far as a direction, whereas under Tommy Shepard, you didn't know where we were going. He told you whatever he wanted to tell you, and then you just had to roll with it, man. You have a front office that knows what they're doing, and you have leadership here, man. Young leadership that hasn't even hit their prime yet. I'm just trying to tell you, Jordan Poole has not even hit his prime yet. Think about that. So, this is a good contract, man.
Right. 110%. So, and then you compare this to the Jeremy Grant contract. So Dillon Brooks got a 4-year, $86 million contract, $21 million per year. Jeremy Grant got a 5-year, $160 million contract, $32 million per year. I really don't see that much difference between Kyle Kuzma and Jeremy Grant. You could really argue that Kyle Kuzma is better than Jeremy Grant, and I love Jeremy Grant's game, so I think they're pretty neck and neck. They're pretty similar. Like, you look at Jeremy Grant's contract, he's getting $27 million the first year. The second year goes up to 29, and then it goes up to 32. Then it goes up to 34 million. Then it goes up to $36 million. And the last year of his contract in 2028, it has a player option. So the big 3 in the front office, they were smart by this deal. They definitely could have threw him a bag like that. And Jeremy Grant's agent, shout out to his agent for sure. So, I'm just thankful the Wizards didn't do a deal like that, because if they did a deal like that, then yes, I definitely would have been questioning them giving Kyle Kuzma $32 million a year. But shout out, I'm happy for Jeremy, but that's just a deal you can definitely compare it to. The Wizards made a good deal for a good player in their similar kind of talent level there. And then Dillon Brooks got about 4 for 86. So, but yeah, we're definitely gonna talk about the direction of the team. I'm excited to talk about that for sure, because there was an article from The Athletic that talked about that. So I'm intrigued by that for sure.
Oh, we definitely gonna talk about the direction of the team, homie.
But yeah, they play the Spurs tomorrow night. I'm excited for that. Wembanyama is not playing because he's scared to play against Bilal.
Oh, he's terrified. But that's questionable, man. I don't think that's a sample size. 2 games and you ready to? I think he needs enough. He needs to play, man. He needs some playing time. I agree with everybody. I think that Wembanyama, he's definitely that talent. Now, is he generational? I don't know yet. But I think that when he pieces together, when he finally figures it out, man, he's gonna be a force. But yeah, he needs to play. He's definitely scared of BC. But before we roll, you got anything left you want to talk about? You?
No, I'm good. So I'm excited for tomorrow, 10:30 p.m. We'll probably go live after like 1 a.m. So I'm gonna try to take a nap before the game.
Same here, man. Same here. So definitely appreciate y'all, man. Thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Every day. Again, tomorrow we are going to recap the third Summer League game. So definitely tune in because it's going to be a good one, man. It's going to be a good one. So definitely appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, comment below. Let them know how we're doing. Anywhere you get your podcast, 5-star review. If we earned it, it's much appreciated. So hail to the Wizards and peace.